I want to take time to thank you all for joining us today. It's an exciting day for us. This is our grand opening, or soft opening, for our DNA lab. So it's been a lot of work, a lot of hard times and dedication to get this done. And so this really started probably back in 2006 with Sheriff Doug Dar at the time, who had the idea that we needed to get a DNA lab of our own. So we partnered with all of our folks in Adams County, the Northland Police Department, Thornton Police Department, Westminster Police Department, Brighton Police Department, Commerce City, the Adams County DA's office, and I'm sure I'm missing a few others, Bed Heights Police Department. And we collaborated with them to get this DNA lab open. And the amazing thing is our DNA lab can now process DNA in 48 hours and have the results, which is huge when we start talking about some of our major crimes that happen here in Adams County and how we can decrease some of that backlog that happens at CBI. But for me, it's been exciting to be here. It's been exciting to see this lab finally come to fruition. But I want to introduce Sheriff Doug Dar. This was his idea. Sheriff, would you please come up and explain the process from the beginning?
Well, first things first, this wasn't one guy. This was a team of people who worked pretty hard over the course of a lot of years to try and create a DNA lab in Adams County. Now, in the day and age of everybody wanting credit and everybody trying to take credit for other people's work, it's actually extraordinary to get an invitation to come and do this today. So, Sheriff Reichenborn, Rick, let's start with what got the ball rolling, at least for me. In September of 1980, we had what I thought was probably the most horrific homicide that I had ever seen, or maybe have ever seen in Adams County. Central part of Adams County, 15-year-old young lady at home by herself. Family came home and found her 84 stab wounds. As you might imagine, the crime scene in the bedroom was beyond belief. Blood was everywhere. The suspect who had committed the crime also had injured himself, so intermingled in the blood was his. We had plenty of physical evidence. We knew that someday, if we found a suspect, we'd be able to make a pretty good link. But DNA may have been on the horizon, but it had not arrived yet. And we struggled for a period of 25 years to solve that case. It was one of those that haunts you, kind of rattles around in your back seat. You never lose sight of. Jim Wilburn, the late Jim Wilburn, who was the lead investigator in the case, worked and worked and worked. And we got a hit from a guy who was in Arizona. And Larry and Jim Wilburn went to work on the case. And they put it together. He was convicted 1 year later, 26 years after the homicide. We finally got a guy convicted and in the penitentiary where he belongs and where he is today. Now, DNA had shown up in the meantime. At least forensic DNA testing opportunities had shown up in the meantime. And we had a team in our detective division. And the leader of that team was Chief Redstone. And he originally started the conversations. It was not me that started them, it was him. And he said, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about getting our DNA capabilities. CBI was overrun. The volume was incredible. They were trying and trying and trying to make it work. But the fact of the matter is they had so many cases that they had to prioritize them. And as they prioritized them, some of the cases pushed out 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's really tough to tell victims that we can't do the testing in their cases because of the volume and because their case has been pushed out a lot. They feel like they're getting no justice because they're getting no justice. Economics weren't that great at the time, and so it became a difficult process. So I am as pleased as I can be that the team was successful, that the team did the job. I mean, this is profound for Adams County, but it's more profound for victims of crimes. See, they don't want to hear. They have to wait. When they are the victim of a crime, particularly a crime as horrific as the one I was describing, they need some satisfaction. They need some closure. They need to know that they're going to get a level of justice. And we're able to provide that for them now. Now, I keep saying we because I can't imagine ever separating from the history of the Adams County Sheriff's Office. So to all of you guys who worked so hard, thanks for being here. Thanks for working so hard, and thanks for making it possible. Great.
Thank you, Sheriff Dorr. My name is Dirk, D-I-R-K, Budd, B-U-D-D. I'm the current chief of detectives here at the Adams County Sheriff's Office. I'm going to talk about, just briefly, but I'm going to talk, this is about time. The laboratory is all about time. It has taken us considerable time for this project to come to fruition. This plan started under Sheriff Darr's administration, and now we're here in 2022 with the Sheriff Rackenborn for its completion. But again, it comes back to time. Time is not on our side when it comes to persons, crimes, violent crimes, shootings, murders, carjackings. Like the first 48, that clock is ticking on us. Time is our enemy in these cases. Currently, we use the state lab, as has been mentioned. And since I've been here, they're overwhelmed with requests. And as Sheriff Darr outlined, it can take 6 months, a year, or longer to get those results. This is really unacceptable to us. And because of that, this in-house lab can get us that time down to, the sheriff said, 48 hours, possibly 24 hours in some cases. And that can mean the difference between a case being a cold case or a solved case. And this is truly remarkable. So this is an important day. And Shane Eder has been instrumental in this, and I would like him just to come up here and just say a few things. Come on.
My name is Shane Eder. I'm the commander of the laboratory and bomb squad, victim advocates, and property evidence. It's a lot of pressure. You think about 100,000 pieces of evidence, over 100,000 pieces of evidence are in our warehouse now. We collect 20,000, 25,000 every year. That's a lot of work. And when you think about all that work, a lot of it's going to end up through the DNA lab. So as Sheriff Darr said, 2009, we hired Roz. In 2010, I was put over the lab as a sergeant, and we started on the remodel of what's behind us that you guys can see. So we got that built and then went before the board on several occasions. And like Sheriff Darr said, the projects were just insurmountable for us to get the funding. 2019, we got the funding. And in 2020, we began the procurement of all the equipment, but unfortunately with COVID, it kind of delayed us. It set us back, having deliveries, just having equipment built for us. So we worked hard with Roz and Kathleen Grant. We hired Kathleen Grant with the wonderful person, Nancy Duncan, who is the budget director of Adams County, and helped us get that position filled so we can help expedite this thing. We've worked hard. They talked about throughput, about samples going through. Roz on our own, for our own agency, until we got this lab, was doing 600 to 800 samples every year by herself. So we hope to double that number now that we've got 2, and once we get the lab fully open and accredited. So thank you to Sheriff Darr, Mike Captain Stoll, Sheriff Rackenborn, and of course Chief Budd for the support. Everybody here has been supportive. Nancy Duncan, the county commissioners have been absolutely phenomenal with the support for us to be able to grow this lab. And they understand that we're going to get the major cases solved, But the property crimes, they hit us hard. That's where it hits us in our pocketbooks, right? The stolen cars, the houses, the burglaries, the businesses. We're going to target all of that. So not only are we going to target the violent crimes, we're going to target the property crimes, and we're going to get these things solved. We're going to find these habitual criminals, and we're going to put them away. So thanks to everybody for your support.
So in 2019, when I took office, we had a pretty horrific homicide. And we collected DNA for that homicide so we could send it to CBI. And the problem became is we needed to send more evidence than they would allow us to send. And so we were concerned that we're not going to be able to get the right evidence sent over. What if we pick the wrong DNA and we have our victim's DNA instead of our suspect DNA? So I went before the county commissioners and I said, this is important. This is important to our entire community. And if we build this right, which the groundwork has already been laid, if we build this right, we can assist every agency in Adams County. We can partner with all of them as a team, work collaboratively, make sure that the DAs get the evidence that they need so they can successfully prosecute these cases. And they believed in us. And so I can't thank the Board of County Commissioners, Nancy Duncan, Sheriff Darth, Division Chief Fred Stoll, and all the others enough for allowing us to actually contribute back to our community, back to the entire Adams County. It's a privilege for us to open this today. It's a privilege for us to make sure that we actually prosecute these cases correctly and gather that DNA. And we're excited and looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate your time.
And it is a working lab, so we do have to make sure we maintain the integrity of the lab and what's being processed and will be processed. So we do have designated areas for photography, for any videos, questions. The lab staff's done a great job, but we would just be mindful of that. We really appreciate it. Thank you.